This is James Fraser Miller, and this is my industry dubbing and composition assignment. I'm using the Step Forward short film, which features two steampunk time travelers discussing time travel uh, in a large space. To start with, I wanted the soundtrack elements to be of a orchestral nature, being also quite playful and dark at the same time. So I was heavily influenced by the Michael Andrews piece of music called Middlesex Times, which features in the film Donnie Darko. I liked the ensemble from that. It was a xylophone and some plucked strings. So I borrowed that sort of ensemble idea and did my own thing. So to start, I worked on these strings here, and I'll just play you what I did. I just started with a C, I think it was a C1, and just built up some notes over time, and then added in a little theme to sort of complement it, and then repeated that a few times throughout the entire piece as like a callback. So I'll just play that now.
Yes, I understand all of that.
So that's the theme there. There we go. And then I further built that up with more notes, and I composed it like the section at a time. As I wanted to, it's quite a short piece, so I wanted to keep the theme quite different all the way through. I added in some more elements as well. I think I added in some violins around this point here, so they just sort of build it up a bit more. Start here. And then I brought in the xylophone around about there as well. There we go. And again, this repeats the theme you hear earlier on. With that, I added a harmony as well, as it sounded a little bit empty without the harmony. The strings, you can get away with it, but not so much with the xylophone. To sort of match with what's going on with the acting, I just play you the next section. I bring it back down to just the C hits on the pluck strings here, and then I have a different theme on the xylophone play, and also a cello just to bring up the bass end a little bit. It's when the girl Amy, I think her name is, she's pondering what to do. She's like thinking.
Will give me?
There you go. So that's pretty much most of the music for the first part. Again, we go back to the strings here. It's a different theme this time. Here's where it changes. When her idea comes to fruition, the music changes to this.
And I explain everything.
No!
There we go. And for my own personal enjoyment, I added in the classic time passing arpeggio while the male character waits for her return when she disappears.
Suspect. It wasn't as dim a question as I thought. Although I think Father was...
There we go. And then as the piece progresses, I add in more notes, and then I return to the theme again. here. I'll just play that.
I was particularly worried there was going to be this minute of limbo where I was neither dead nor alive, and that it might mess me up in some way and turn me into some sort of zombie or something.
And then the second
If
thing
only.
comes in here.
The truth is, it's much worse than that.
And she appears. Yeah, that pretty much covers the music for the first part. As for the sound effects, the foley, there wasn't really a lot to add in at the first part. I wanted to obviously create the space, so I had a reverb for that, which was the Reverence reverb that comes as stock in Cubase. Just find it. Here we go. So I called it diverb for diegetic. That's the sound that the characters can hear. So yeah, it's just a small hall reverb there. Nothing too special. I went through a few of them to try and find the ideal amount of reverb for the space, and I think that was probably my favourite. With a light adjustment, it was pretty much spot on. So everything is pretty much running through that reverb to some extent, and then we've got a second reverb which I'll talk about later. For now, we'll move on to the sound effects, and yeah, so that was the foundation of the space, creating the reverb, or having the reverb, and then I added in some atmosphere sounds, which are these. I wasn't too happy with them in the end. I buried them quite low because there was a lot of high-end detail, which I didn't like. They are from the BBC sound effect library, so they're watermills, interior and exterior. If I just play them, they sound quite nice by themselves, but when you're mixing it all in together, it just sort of was quite interfering with the rest of the
Yes,
sound.
yes, yes, I understand all of that. What I'm saying is, if it...
Yeah, a lot of high-end detail there, which was not nice. So I buried them quite low. But you can vaguely hear the turning of a water wheel, which I wanted a water mill because it's a steam sort of location. There was a steam machine. I think it's the Abbey pumping station in Leicester is where this is filmed. So I wanted to sort of replicate what it sounded like with some steam engines. So that's that part, and then for the next part was to get across the time travel aspect, was to have a lot of ticking clocks. So I chose 3 from freesound.org, and it's these ones here. I'll just solo them now. One of them is the sound from an oven. That's the fast one. It's this one, I think. Yeah, that's an oven, an old oven ticking over. I wanted a few different speeds of ticking, otherwise just sounds the same. And then just some standard clocks as well. So they're all running at different speeds, which is what I wanted, and then I panned them to different locations, hard left, hard right, and centre. And really, again, there wasn't a lot of Foley for the first part, because they weren't not really doing a lot. It's when she starts hatching her plan where some more sounds come in. So she activates her steam time travel device. So I started with the sound of the lever. I'll just play them all at the same time, then I can just explain them. Steam whistle. Yeah, I sourced again more steam sounds. I did experiment with like electronic electronic sounds, and like the classic Frankenstein electrode sounds, but obviously there's no electric stuff going on, so it's mostly implied. It didn't really gel well with the steampunk setting, so I abandoned that idea and just went with Steam, and I think it works overall. So you have the lever sound there, which is the sound of a door. I tried to use the sound of like a ratchet. It was a click sound, click, 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 but it didn't match the speed of or the way it looked. It just didn't look right or feel right. So I think that's the best I got it. There we go. So all the sounds, we have some Steve valve here that kicks in, and it's synced with the shot of the dials here, and then warming up in the background as that's kicking off is the steam engine here, which is quite a nice sounding. It's from a museum. And I layered that with a compacting machine for the mechanical sounds, to sort of sync with the CGI steam engine that you see there, to sync with that. And then I put in a steam whistle just for good measure, really. It felt right, so I think I sank that with another, when it sort of gets to its height, is around another, where she's got her eyes closed, and there's loads of dials going off in the background. So yeah, that's all of that. And as for her sort of the special effects where she disappears and reappears, I wanted to rely on the soundtrack more for that than actual sound effects, because everything I tried just didn't really work. Having synths play these really electronic sounds, it didn't gel well with the steampunk theme, and I thought it would be better just to use the soundtrack to imply her disappearing and reappearing. So the soundtrack, the dark part with the picked strings, sort of fits where she disappears. So that ends there as he turns off the lever. And then to sort of further emphasize her disappearance, I added in a riser and a sub drop. Excuse me, if I can find that. There we go. So this builds up as all the machines are switching on, and then drops when she disappears, and it syncs quite nicely and implies better, I found, than actual time travel sound effects, whatever they are. And with everything, like everything else layered in, it sounds really quite nice. It impacts heavier, I find, than time travel sound effects. I returned to the riser as well towards the credits. There's a nice chunk of black screen, which I capitalize on with the sub drop as well. I thought that was a nice element. Also, I added in a sub bass, because as a film director, he uses it in some of his films. I can't recall who it was, but he has a sub bass slowly oscillating throughout the film, and it just creates a sense of dread, and that's what I wanted a sense of dread permeating the piece. So I automated it to sort of rise and lower in volume with the cello hits, not the cello hits, the string hits on the pick strings. and it not only does it shore up the bass end, but it also creates an uneasy feeling in the viewer, which is what we're going for, because this isn't a happy ending to the story. So ideal, really. The next part was dealing with when she reappears. So the soundtrack, I was showing you that, where when she reappears, I return to the single hits with the pick strings, the dun dun dun, and I also, for her vocal, she sort of monologues when she's not in his realm anymore, his plane of existence. She disappears and she talks over. So I added that special reverb here. I called it Amy reverb, and it's a reverse reverb. So yeah, reverse. It adds a nice effect to her voice. I'll just play that now.
Worse than that. And turn me into some sort of zombie or
Not actually working. That's because it's not. There we go. Sorry.
something. It messed me up in some way and turn me into some sort of zombie or something. If only.
So when it's in full swing again, I'll set it back a bit.
The dead nor alive. And that it might mess me up in some way and turn me into some.
So I've gone for a bit of a poltergeist feel there, or a Phil Collins Genesis feel with the reverse reverb on the vocal, just to suggest that she's no longer in the same dimension as Beardy. And then for the next part, so she reappears, and when she reappears again, I rely on the music to imply something's happened rather than using sound effects. So I use that dun on the strings there, and then we return just to sort of the single hits on the C.
I'm still me, still the same Amy Jackson, the first person to ever travel forward in time.
And I let the sub bass just go with that as well. I changed the automation on it, so it's a bit more in and out rather than following the cello like it is here. So it's like wah wah wah, more of an oscillation. It's a bit more dread-inducing, especially with this bit, because this is where the badness goes down. So with this part, she has an annoying scream, which for some weird reason in the actual audio file that we were supplied with, it clips a little bit and then drops in volume, which is annoying. So I cut that off and added a delay, and then just clipped the end there with a little bit of a fade to pull it down in volume before it reached its conclusion. There was a bit more of a dialogue as well at the end, but I didn't like it. I thought it would end better on the scream, and then we're like, oh well, what happened? I think that rather than what she says, ending it. I didn't think it needed it really, so I just got rid of that. And with the scream, I put a delay on it. If I can find that. Oh yeah, it's back this way. Bear with me. So yeah, the delay here. So I'll play that. Apologies, it's awful, I know, but children screaming. So with the stereo delay, it's half notes and quarter notes, and that's about it. I just tweaked that, and I was like, oh, that sounds brilliant. That's what I wanted. And I was set with that. So she screams, and then she starts spinning. And I introduced this as the only sort of synth I've got going on that's electronic-y. And it's where the background fades to black and she turns a little bit blue, and it just sounds horrible and dark. Her scream fades, and I'll just play the rest. Actually, let me just unsolo everything. Again, the riser comes back in here with a sub drop, and then we go into the end credit music, and I reintroduce the clocks as well down here. Oh, catch up. There we go. And I'll just play the rest just to show you. With the end theme, I went with something a bit more hard-hitting and action-orientated, because I think it led on quite nicely from the ambiguous ending, what happened basically, and then oh, it hits you, it's the end. I think that was a lot more organic than trying to return to the playful darkness of the soundtrack previously. It was just nice to have something different, I guess. But again, I've gone with an orchestral feel using the action strings from Contact, and then some action drums also in Contact. Play those separately. And then bring in the strings. I felt like that fit the theme a lot better than returning. But yeah, that's about it really. Oh, I did try at the start for a soundtrack I did to have some diegetic music playing throughout, like they'd be listening to a gramophone or something. So I borrowed a piece of Johann Sebastian Bach prelude, the cello suites, and I tried to have that play in the background as well, but again it was just too much. So if I just mute where is it? Here we go. So yeah, this would have been, I added an EQ that cut out the highs and the lows and just boosted the mids around about 1k. But yeah, when it was put with the soundtrack that I created, it was just too busy. But if you have one or the other, it sort of works a bit better. So you put in all the soundtrack elements as well. It sounds all right, but then I thought that was a bit cheaty because I've not actually written that piece of music myself, so I've just sort of stolen it. And I wasn't willing to do that, so I thought I'd stick with what I've done rather than...
Yes, I understand all of that. What I'm saying is, if it's precisely 5 o'clock here, and we go...
So it goes quite nicely with the whole theme, steampunk feel. But again, I'd also panned it sort of to the left a little bit, like midway to the left, to imply that it's out of shot, this gramophone. But again, it just is a bit cheaty, so I took it out, and including it with the soundtrack that's already there was just far too busy. So it was a bit of a mess really, so I took it out. But yeah, it's a shame it didn't work because I like that piece of music. But anyway, what can you do? Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.